Hey, sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to the B-Ball Breakdown live show. As always, coming at you Tuesday evening with Combo in the house. Combo, how's it going, my man?
I'm in the house.
You are. That's awesome. Well, I'm glad to have you here as always. Lots to talk about. Let's kick it off. Make it clear that if you want to grab our attention in the comments right away, Super Chat's the way to do that. We put them on the screen. We give you all sorts of love, and we thank you for all the generosity, and also we'll answer your question. Now, on top of that, if you want to come on the show, then click on that link in the description below. I'll throw it in the comments as well, and you guys can chop it up with me and Combo directly, either audio, video, and both. We'd like that to see, like to see who we're talking to. So, I don't know. Let's talk about some NBA things, Combo. I mean, I got to figure out what we want to start with because a lot of stuff has happened since we last spoke.
Yeah, I mean the biggest thing that happened was the Nets Sixers trade, right? So we have Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, and Drummond on the Nets. Now we have Harden on the Sixers. And I mean, so much is coming out. I didn't even get to listen to Ben's full media coverage. I listened to a little bit of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I never talked about this before, but I never really believed the reason that Ben wasn't playing was because Doc Rivers said some stuff to the media. Did you ever believe that was
Oh,
did you ever believe that was really the case?
I think it was part of it, wasn't it?
I don't know. It's like
He
a high
wasn't
level.
happy, by the way, with Embiid either, with what Embiid said. So I think maybe both those things.
I feel like there's definitely more to the story, especially when Shaq was getting at Ben, and then all of a sudden him and Ben have a discussion, and then Shaq doesn't want to talk about it anymore. Like I just feel like there has to be more going on here.
Yeah. Well, we could pull it apart. There's a lot of things going on with this because, once that happened, like, yeah, listen, Ben is a complicated guy. I don't know if he got along with his teammates that well. He's a bit like sort of standoffish and quiet, and like that might be hard. Embiid is gregarious, and so everyone loves to be around him, and that could have caused some issues as well. Ben struggling with that whole jump shot thing, which was becoming a distraction when it didn't necessarily need to be. But obviously he wasn't happy, right? Something about the way the structure, with the way Doc was doing it, the way the team was centered, he wasn't deriving, I guess, pleasure enough that he could say, well, all right, what they said wasn't a big deal, we'll work it out. Because you're right, it's rare that a player would just simply rips his shirt and says, like, I'm done, you're dead to me, I'm never going to come back to you guys. So, and obviously the other part of the conversation, which we could tread lightly with, is the notion that he was dealing with emotional issues and mental issues that precluded him from playing. People want to criticize him for that and say, well, look, he's all of a sudden he's happy because he's got traded. He's in a new place. It doesn't happen that way. It shouldn't happen that way with mental health issues. Do you want to weigh in at all on that?
I mean, so yeah, some people would say it's convenient that he's able to play now, right? That he's with the Nets, like the mental health issues go all the way out the window. But first of all, you got to say, my thoughts and prayers to everybody, struggling with mental health, first and foremost. But with new scenery, new habits, new mental state, I think that could have something to do with it. But on top of that, I think even on top of all that, there's just more to this. I just think there's more to this that we don't know because I think Ben was just staying quiet, and obviously the Sixers could just put out there whatever they want to put out there. So I just want to know. I feel like more and more is going to come out of this because once the players actually got traded, we're going to hear more and more coming out from both sides. I mean, Jake Fisher, a Bleacher Report who's been on my podcast before, kind of had this piece about like, Harden and KD, maybe they weren't even getting along too well. So I just think we're going to hear a lot more of this.
Okay, well, yeah, we can pivot to that too. And again, for everyone who will say on Twitter that they have similar mental health issues or issues themselves, they'll tell you, well, changing the scenery doesn't do anything. That's not going to do it. And then you have other people who are in the same situation who would say, yeah, it really does help, and it could change everything about how you feel about things. So it's complicated, and I just think the bottom line is, if you want to criticize him for that as if he's just trying to get money, trying to keep his job, whatever, we just don't know. And you're just going to sound like a jerk no matter what. If that's the take you want to have. And you can see that even in the comments right now. So just, you're going to have to keep it to yourself if you really feel like he was faking mental health issues in order to get some money out of his contract. Because again, that's something you don't know. And it's not, no matter how deeply you feel it and how important you think that is to say, you're going to be viewed as an a-hole if that's the stand you're going to take. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I would say I don't think, Doc Rivers and Joel Embiid saying things to the media could, you'll get over any basketball player will get over that in a day, maybe a week. I doubt Ben held on to that for months and months and months and months. It had to be
Right.
so much more than that.
That's a good point. And then he did come back and they got him into a practice. And I think we even talked about this because at the time Doc had kicked him out because he was kind of going through the motions, wasn't really doing what they needed him to do. And part of me can envision the scenario where he was aloof, he wasn't whatever, and here's a chance for the coach. Finally, they got him back in the fold. They want to welcome him in. You have two choices. You can slowly try and encourage and find a way where you can get again to warm up eventually. It might take 2 or 3 practices, maybe. Or you could do what Doc did, which was force him to do something they clearly wasn't going to do. And then that gives me the impetus to kick him out of practice, and let's finally let's make the situation bad so we can then react to it. That is an issue. Again, I don't know if exactly that's what happened, but I've heard a little bit about that basically is describing what went down. And I know this because that's what most coaches would do. And I just think it was the wrong move if they ever had the goal of getting Ben back into the fold in Philly. Now let's go over to what Jake Fisher was talking about. Yeah, I mean it's interesting, right? We had heard I had broken news once on a pod when I had Dave McMenamin on the show, and he broke news on my pod that no one noticed for a couple days of Kyrie not talking to anybody in the team for months during the playoffs. And the funny thing was, he actually
was this with the Celtics?
No, Kyrie. No, this was I think it was the Cavs.
Okay.
So this was already 2 years ago, 3, whatever it was. And the funny thing was, is he actually reported it on ESPN 2 nights before. So he didn't think he was breaking any news. But for some reason, that podcast, oh my God, Kyrie didn't talk to anybody for 6 weeks straight. So you already have that issue, right? You have to be worried that could happen with Kyrie on the Nets. But then all of a sudden, the same kind of dynamic seemed to have emerged with Harden and KD. Maybe it's Harden, right? If you keep having bad roommates year over year, at some point you're the bad roommate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I just think, Harden is who he is. He's a guy who's going to go out at night. He's going to have a good time. And you really can't stop a guy from doing that. That's his own personal life. But I guess when teammates feel, it gets in the way of them winning or, their competitive edge, I guess it bothers some of his teammates. But, Harden's going to go out. He's going to be outside, as they say, Coach Nick. So, I mean, that kind of comes with who he is.
Didn't he look almost thinner to you in the footage they had in Sixers practice?
Yeah, it made me almost want to tweet, and I didn't. I feel like James Harden is going to get a lot closer to his MVP level shape. I don't think he'll get all the way there, but I think he will get a lot closer to that in this honeymoon phase. And I think they have to take advantage of this honeymoon phase because it's going to be all smiles in the beginning here.
Yeah, exactly. And then if they can keep the smiles going, but I don't know. I worry about Doc. Doc is supposed to be a player's coach, but he's a player's coach from another era, and that it doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to fit here. But we'll find out. But yeah, I mean, listen, if you go out and party like Harden does, and you perform like Harden used to, then that's one thing. Michael Jordan did the same thing. But when you struggle and you're having problems, and then you seem like you're not interested. That is where you get the issues, right? Even when Michael Jordan probably engendered some ill will when he got special treatment for certain things to the team, even though we all know that's going to happen. All the stars get this different treatment than the regular players. But if you're nice and if you come through and you show dedication, then that your teammates probably don't hold it against you as much. So that makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like Michael Jordan's and James Harden's going out was a little bit different. I felt like I could be totally wrong. I felt like Michael Jordan was more on the low key, I'm out all night gambling. And I think Harden is not Rodman, because I think probably Rodman was a little bit more wild, but maybe tipping on a little bit more on that side of the scale, more like really where it's a lot of energy taking place, you're really outside, everything's going crazy, that real nightlife type scene. I think Michael Jordan was just out gambling, I mean, I don't know. I wasn't with either of them, but that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, and then golfing for hours and hours and all that stuff too. So
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, but he worked harder than everybody else, and he performed better than everybody else. So that's what he could do. I don't know how, but he did. So oh my goodness gracious, I just realized, don't look at the mess behind me on my couch. Damn. but as a result, I think I might even
Nobody would have
What's
noticed if you didn't say anything.
I know. Got hair, how about that? I just, but I have a brand new soundboard, and I think I sound probably as good as I've ever sounded on a live show. But I like to have the background nice and neat looking.
Our audio is fantastic on both sides today. I got the new
Yeah, and you
headset. You got
sound as good as you've ever sounded with the new headphones. So let's hope that they stay charged. Hey, and then going forward at some point, be prepared. This soundboard also has a Bluetooth connectivity, so I can actually bring like a Twitter Spaces in that I want to, or all those kind of things. So I'm working on how to make that work perfectly so I can hear it. But either way, okay. So we talked about that. Let's talk about CJ McCollum to the Pelicans. Have you had a chance to see him play at all yet? There.
I haven't had a chance to see him play. I told you I was watching that Knicks OKC game last night. I've been in tune to some, different games around the league, but I didn't get a chance to watch him play. But just my initial thoughts on the trade was like he's going to help them a lot on defense, and I kind of like, his mix with Point Zion. If Point Zion ever gets to come back, they could kind of like share ball handling duties, and even Ingram could handle the ball as well. But on defense, it's really tough. I think Zion's an issue on defense. CJ is not the greatest defender, and their whole backcourt it's to be honest, it's low level defense when it comes to the NBA. So they need like a Patrick Beverly type backup, or somebody who's really defensive minded, because him and Devontae Graham aren't going to get it done on the defensive end.
Well, they're not going to get Patrick Beverly because he just signed an extension in Minnesota. So good for him for getting some bucks. But CJ actually did pretty well. He had a 36-point game and then a 23-point game. They've only won one of the 3 games, so that's going to be expected to get them, accustomed to things. But I'm curious because they could have kept Lonzo, and they kept that all together. And instead, what do they have left after all that is basically a CJ, which who's going to be just one step below an all-star. And be terrific, and he actually can do a lot of things for them. So I think that's going to help. But again, it's going to have to be on Zion having to get healthy. But we have somebody who wants to come on the show. Let's bring in John and see what John wants to say to us. John, are you there?
Yeah. Hey, Coach Nick, how you doing today, man?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. So I actually calling in because I actually want to talk about the trade between the Nets and the 76ers.
Okay.
Like I think right now I think like in hindsight I think the 76ers wanted to trade in the long term. Not like I believe the 76ers wanted to trade for now.
Right. Well, you cannot waste another Embiid prime year,
Right.
right? And that's the
Right.
thing. So yeah, they wanted to do it, and they also
and then I believe like for the Brooklyn Nets, they still haven't really established an offensive and defensive identity. Like outside of Ben Simmons and Kevin Durant, everybody else is a defensive liability.
that is true. Yeah, Brown. Did you say Brown? Durant?
Yeah.
Brown.
I
Yeah.
said outside of Durant and Ben Simmons, I would say everybody.
Claxton's not
else,
bad, but he's not getting minutes.
But
Right.
yeah,
And Bruce Brown can play defense. You're right. It's a problem for them, and the argument could be that they can outscore everybody, but
I don't think so. Well, after losing Harden, they can no longer outscore everybody.
Well, they
got see that. Yeah, go ahead.
They got Ben and Durant now. I mean, those are 2 high level defenders in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's what he's saying. So that might be enough. And but I think when you have Kyrie go ahead.
But I was gonna say that like the only way I'll see that's enough if Ben Simmons actually play like a Draymond Green role, like guard all 1 through 5 and help side defense and actually call out screens and actually be the eyes and ears to everybody's back. He doesn't have the Draymond Green leadership on the defensive
that's
end.
A great
He just
point.
don't.
You're right. So that's true. Now, individually, he has all the potential or all the ability in the world to defend. So that's another good point. I think that's going to be their downfall. The Nets, I don't think I could pick them as favorites now. Coming out of the East, I feel like their defense is still going to be enough of a problem. But I do feel like they can outscore almost anybody that they need to. Question is, can you do that in a 7-game series? But I think once you get Ben, getting downhill and then kicking out and then creating all sorts of havoc that way, and then you have KD and Kyrie sniping, they should be very potent, and that should get them pretty far. But yeah, I think it's an issue for sure.
But they also got one more thing to worry about. They know like Seth Curry is gonna be a free agent like after next season.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Seth Curry should be asking for $100 million. Yeah.
He's the guy.
But
Yeah.
I'm saying it because Joe Harris is making 75 million in 4 years, and throughout like the 2 years that he was in the playoffs, the first time with D'Lo, and then the first time with KD, he's been a no show, opposed to Seth Curry. Seth Curry, like,
I hear you.
I
Well,
mean,
Seth
like
Curry,
if you're gonna
all
pay Joe Harris 75, I think Seth Curry have every right to ask for 100 mil. He has every right to ask
all
for
right.
100 mil.
Yeah, he's the guy that gets forgotten. They we could replace him, no problem. And then they were trying to, and then they realized, oh, we Dallas should never have gotten
Yeah.
traded him, right?
They should have never traded him for Josh Richardson. Like Josh Richardson did nothing for them. And
Well, they looked
then
at Josh.
and
He was
then
bigger.
Seth Curry was dropping like 30 points in like closeout games to close out series
Yeah,
when it was just Ben Simmons and him and Joel was out for that one game.
teams are always looking for to upgrade size on a player like Curry. They figure, all right, maybe Josh Richardson will shoot 37% instead of 41, but he's bigger, he'll play better defense, and so you put the numbers in. Then you don't realize though when you look at it on the court, it's a terrible decision, and they need that kind of player right now. They could have used him last year too. So I mean, hey, I hope Seth has got a good agent, and he certainly should get it easily, if not more than what Joe Harris is getting. So I hear you, and I'm sure he will be sought after and get a lot of money. But as a result, talking about the Nets, that's a lot of shooting that they can put on the floor now. Patty Mills and Seth and KD and Kyrie. That's impressive.
Yeah, it is impressive, but the drawback is that Kyrie is a part-time player. I don't see New York lifting the mandate anytime soon because I mean, like, there's too many, like, this COVID thing is always evolving, like a Pokemon. It's always
Right.
evolving. I don't see New York lifting the mandate anytime soon. He's gonna still be a part-time player. So,
Yeah, maybe.
the great thing is that they do have Seth Curry as reassurance, so he could lead the team for the time being.
True. Yeah. I mean, it's disruptive too when you have a player who doesn't play on the home games. I have a feeling though there's some movement here on the blue states about mask mandates and things like that. So if by middle of April, it could very well be a thing where they get rid of the vaccine mandate. It might happen. But again, I don't know. I wouldn't put it 100%, but it might happen. So either way, we got some other else wants to come on the show. But John, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
You got it. All right, we got Bathy Reports who wants to come on the show here. Bathy, how are you doing?
Well, you can hear me?
I can hear you almost. Say something else.
Is this better?
That's perfect. Yeah.
All right. First of all, I just want to say I love your videos. I love when you post. I feel like you should post more.
Hey, me too.
But yeah, I was just gonna think what are your thoughts on James Harden not opting into his contract in Philly?
Well, do you hear why that happened? Right.
It was something because his agency, right? Or something like that.
Well, he doesn't have an agent, and they missed that they got it in, but it was late. They didn't get it.
Oh,
in
so
the right
they
time.
actually he tried to opt in. So
Yeah.
what do you think is Philly's future with James Harden? Do you think they win a championship in the next 2 years?
Maybe,
Maybe. Sounds.
maybe it's hard to really. This is a weird time, and I want to hear combos thing. But here's one thing that's interesting. No one's talked about too much, and I think that there's some whispers about the NBA owners wanting to investigate tampering, because obviously Daryl Morey and James Harden, worked together and had something going in Houston. How did Daryl Morey know not to make any deal? I'm sure he had 100 offers that were all probably pretty good for Ben Simmons. How did he know to wait until Harden was available? Right, that's an interesting question.
Oh yeah, I heard about that situation, the tampering situation.
So if the answer is that Morey knows and they whatever, then that also probably means that Harden is going to opt in.
Oh yeah, he probably is. I just want to also say about how did the Sixers not get a person like LaMarcus Aldridge or Patty Mills? I feel like LaMarcus Aldridge, it would have been included in that deal. He would have been perfect in Philly. It's back up for Joel. He plays similar to Joel. He's strong in the post and he has that midi game just like Joel. I feel like he would have been perfect in Philly. And
I feel like with Simmons' background and all the things that are going around swirling, the Harden is worth more. So when you make that trade, you need to give out more to get Harden than you would give back. Wait, does that make sense? No, you want to know because wait, who did the Phillies send out? They send out Seth Curry,
And Drummond.
Ben Simmons,
Drummond.
and Andre Drummond. So you
Yeah,
think they should have added?
and two
Oh,
firsts too. They are two
right,
first. So
right, and
I
to get
think
Harden.
I should have got it because Paul Millsap in the Nets game he wasn't doing anything. Like he literally was
Yeah,
nothing.
he's washed.
He was just a
Yeah,
another name. So
yeah, and it's possible that they didn't want him. I don't know if I would want him at this Aldridge at this point in his career either.
you think so?
I will say this: if they start Drummond alongside Ben Simmons, I'm going to throw my phone out the window. If they don't let Simmons start the game as the 5 alongside KD and
But
Kyrie,
they always done the small ball 5 thing with Blake Griffin, with Green when he was there, with Bruce Brown. So I don't think they would.
yeah.
I don't think they would
Well, no,
stop
but
now.
they started no, they were starting Jared Allen. I mean, I guess when they had guys like that, they'd start him. But
But
I
they
don't
were
know.
really forward thinking when it came to small ball lineups, though. The Nets always been like that.
Okay, all right. Well, listen,
With Blake, with Jeff Green when he was there, with Bruce Brown, and I think Ben will fit into that as well.
Yeah,
and I say this because you know what's going to happen, right? They're going to start freaking Drummond. They're going to think, oh wow, look how good he is, whatever. And
well, yeah, I heard it like so a real day one Nets fan he says like how Steve Nash is gonna try every single lineup. He's gonna try Ben at the 1, Ben at the 2, Ben at the 3, everything with Ben Simmons,
yeah,
to get that offense
Eh,
flowing with Ben Simmons. But I feel like the offense should be I don't know if this is like a hot take, but I feel like it should be ran around Ben Simmons because if the offense is ran around Ben Simmons, then like because you
He
don't need
doesn't
to
have,
run your
he doesn't have the
offense around
space.
Kate.
He
Yes.
doesn't have the space if he has it. You're saying, right?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it would be better, like, cause like if you running around KD, like what KD needs. He's just
yeah.
KD, just get a bucket. But if you're running around Ben Simmons, which would favor if you run around offense around Ben Simmons, which is just primarily shooters and putting him at the 5, and I feel like that would be like the most perfect situation that could happen in Brooklyn, and maybe
Yes,
they could win a
that
chip
is the
of
correct
that.
answer. And you know what, Bathy, hang on for 1 second. I like what we're going with this, but I have a super chat. I was going to give the shine to that real quick from Conrad Chimpy. I love this whole new thing. We can put him on the screen, and thank you so much for being so generous with the super chat. And he wants, will Kyrie and KD relationship be poisoned if they lose? Combo, what do you think about that? If they don't, if they lose in the second round of the playoffs, what do you think about Kyrie and KD?
Man, like I really appreciate the super chat, but I really don't care like about KD and Kyrie if they get along. Like, isn't that how you feel? Like, I don't even know these guys on a personal level. Like, do I care
Yeah.
if they get along? No, but I guess from a basketball standpoint, no. I think they'll go forward and try and win it next year. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if how much that really matters. I mean, we are now seeing when you're trying to keep these free agents together and not have them want to leave, like Harden. There is a notion of, well, let's get them to get along. I mean, we have to make sure that
Yeah,
But
I
back
get
in the
it.
day, it didn't feel that way. It's like I could play on a team with somebody else who I hated, but once the game started, we'd play. I don't know. I feel like maybe that's changed. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, I just really come from a basketball standpoint. So, like, if two people like each other or not, I don't know. That was just that's just how I feel about it. But
What about you, Bathy? What do you think?
I think chemistry plays one of the biggest parts in the team, and if they could win a championship or not, because you have to have the trust in another player. So I feel like if they lose, I don't think their relationship is going to be poisoned because Kyrie already has to deal. I mean, KD already has to deal with Kyrie's like absences. So I feel like
Right.
just because they lose this year, you know,
It won't do it. Okay.
it won't. Yeah, I feel
Interesting.
like their relationship's already been built between them. Like
I
just like
imagine it might be how they lose. Like with the Ben Simmons thing, they lose game 7. Ben Simmons doesn't shoot the ball when he needed to do, and the other guy gets fouled. Maybe those are the moments where it becomes a real big issue. Where if Ben Simmons doesn't, he gets fouled, he shoots 2 free throws, or maybe he makes the shot, he gets an and one. Then MB doesn't say what he was going to say, and then Doc doesn't say what he's going to say, and then Simmons would still be there. Like again, according to Combo, there's so much going on behind the scenes, and I agree, it can't possibly have been just from that. So that's definitely clear to my mind.
and also,
yeah.
I think they should look at this from a long-term standpoint as well. I mean, Ben Simmons is young. Kyrie and KD are going to have many years left to play, in my opinion, even though they're not super young themselves. I think they need to look at this like this is not only about this season. Obviously, we want to win this season, but we have a great young player in Ben Simmons, and we could go forward with this for years to come. I think they all need to look at it like that as well, and build culture there, because I think somebody mentioned that like they don't really have an identity, they don't really have a culture. This is not a team like the Spurs, the Heat, some of the Warriors that have great culture, and I think they need to build that there.
Oh yeah. The culture in Brooklyn is awful. Like in that Warriors game, they're giving Curry MVP tents. Like that's pretty
Yeah,
crazy.
I mean, it's not like even the Knicks, even though they're doing terrible things right now, by the way, but they're not like a transplant team. They've been there for years. Like Brooklyn's kind of like made up out of nowhere because they just grabbed him from Jersey and put him in Brooklyn, so they don't have those years of tradition there.
Yeah.
So yeah, they need to build on that, and they should really look at Ben Simmons as their future. That's how I think they should look at it.
For sure. Well, Baffy, thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate it, man. Anytime.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
All right. Let's go to our 2x2, and then we got some more super chats. Thank you guys so much. This is the way to get us if you want to get your comment out there. So we got a pimp named Slickback. Is that like a reference to something I don't know?
But I don't know. He gives us a super chat every week. So shouts to the pimp named Slickback. We appreciate you.
And the picture is chef's kiss.
Wait, is that actually him? Like, is that the guy we're talking?
I'm assuming it's a reference to something that we don't know, that maybe we're not hip. We're not in. I don't know.
Not hip. Oh, too bad.
We can talk about the halftime show, the Super Bowl, if you want. I get Harden is upset with the Kyrie situation, but Harden came into camp overweight and he refused to adapt his game. He has a lot of pressure on him right now. That is true, right? He that is all true. Does that necessarily mean that we give him a pass? I don't know.
Well, I would say that James Harden has a lot more pressure, basketball pressure on him than Ben Simmons does, partly because of fit. A lot is going to go on, Harden's back because this team has already been playing great. So if they don't play great when James gets there, it looks bad. And the fit is just so much more seamless with the Nets. I think Ben Simmons is it's kind of like the Andrew Wiggins situation, even though they're obviously totally different players. There's going to be less pressure and there's going to be better fit, and it's going to lead to him playing better, in my opinion.
Okay. I mean, I think this is one of those trades where both teams will really benefit. A lot of times you see one really gets the wins the trade. This might be one of those where they both, it fits exactly what they both needed. Maybe even from the net standpoint, just from like, the ego, whatever, chemistry as well. There's a lot of chemistry going on here with these teams.
Addition by subtraction on both sides, you'd say, right?
Exactly, both, and addition by addition, like kind of both. So I think this will be a good one for both teams. Again, Daryl, tell us how you knew to wait all the way to the trade deadline to get that trade done. I'm interested to figure that one out. But anyway, and there's no question that Harden's going to have a lot of pressure. He's handled that pressure in the past, no problem, being the guy in Houston where everyone's going to try and stop, and he's still been able to score. So I feel like he'll be able to, do his game, and Doc will let him. And it's just a question of, can they kind of figure it out? Because the one thing we haven't said is that Harden has never played with a big man like Embiid.
Yeah, that is true. He's never played with a big man like Embiid, and obviously Embiid never played like a two guard who was, Harden was an MVP level player at one point. Maybe he's not that right now, but they both never played with, the type of player that they're now matched up with.
Right. So that's all interesting stuff. So thank you so much, Pimp.
Thank you.
Anytime you're welcome to come on a show like that. Oh, let me go back. We'll do that. Now, we have another super chat we can bring on, which, you know what? Well, let's do the super chat first. Then we have TDA God 23 who wants to come on the show. But Nisan Naidu, who might very well be like one of the first subscribers, I think, to B-Ball Breakdown. If I'm not mistaken, maybe let me. It's been a long time since we've been interacting. So thank you so much from New Zealand with a really generous super chat. And Neeson's question is, are Simmons' free throw woes a legitimate concern for Brooklyn? Yes. I mean, that's that was the concern in the game 7, why he didn't want to shoot the ball, because they knew they're going to foul him and put him on the line, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a bigger concern for him than the jump shot, I think. I think it's something he needs to work on. I think it's something that you can improve upon. And I think maybe, new habits, new situations bring new habits. Maybe he can improve his free throw shooting, maybe get it to, 70, hopefully. Who knows?
I mean, yeah. And by the way, a lot of it's mental. And if there's a different mental situation here where he can feel more comfortable, we talked about this on your pod before we came on this one, where, when you're trying to train, to be a shooter or to perform, you have to train your nervous system to be able to handle outside stimulus so that it won't infect or affect the way your mechanics work and how your body mechanics need to, recreate the same movement every time. It's very easy to get little hitches and little different, variations when your nervous system allows that because it's, jolted or it's scared or it's, feeling pressure. So if they could figure that out and help him train for that, then yeah, he'll make more free throws. It's all science, right? It's all brain chemistry. It's all it is. You just need to understand it, study it, learn about that so you can then use it when you're training players. Hopefully we're moving more toward that and we have less of these Neanderthals who want to scoff at what I'm talking about here. And you know who you are out there on Twitter. And we
wait,
make fun of you.
Wait, what do they say? What's their
point? When we talk about biomechanics and we talk about the importance of playing in a positive frame of mind, all these different kind of things, we're going to talk about that in a minute. I'll bring it up, but some of those guys, just try and make. It's not even like so. It's one thing if you read and if you see something, like for instance, let's talk about the Super Bowl for a second. There's a lot of conservatives out there that criticize the Super Bowl halftime, right? And really, what it's about is. They probably were like, this is something really cool that's happening. I don't get it at all because of some other culture I don't know anything about. So you have two choices. You could be like, oh, that's interesting. I don't know anything about it, but oh well. Or you can kind of like get mad about it and like criticize it and then cast out all this horrible stuff that they were saying about like the halftime show because they felt like left out. Well, it's the same thing with some of these generally older trainers who don't want to learn about biomechanics. They don't want to learn the science of brain chemistry, and they don't think that it has anything to do with basketball. And as a result, they're just going to be lesser trainers. That's their issue. But they could either say that's not for me, I don't want to deal with that, or they could be like overt on Twitter, like trying to make fun of it and like demean and be rude and be whatever. Like that's just a terrible look. I would never do that. And you know what I mean? It's like if I see somebody doing something, I'll probably just sort of like, all right, it's not for me. But like it's a aggressively Neanderthal take on those things, and it's just like it's silly.
It's not forward thinking, and I thought the halftime show was phenomenal, by the way. But I did want to shift the topic a little bit, staying on Ben Simmons and staying on this question. Do you think it's interesting that Ben Simmons is such a fluid athlete for his size, but that fluidity doesn't transfer into his jump shot?
Right. There's nothing fluid about the jump shot at all for him.
Or the free throw.
He's not necessarily so fluid, though. His finishing with the right hand of the basket would become so awkward because he won't shoot it lefty. So there is something that's weighted to one side.
That's just lack of skill or lack of offensive options. But the way he runs, the way he moves, the way he slides laterally is very fluid.
Yeah. That's fluid, but the skill things about shooting. Well, I guess it's a shooting is not, and that includes the finishing at the rim. It's to the point where it's awkward when he tries to have to do the right hand thing because again he's a righty who like was forced to shoot lefty as a kid, and it's very bizarre. And by the way, that explains a lot. That could very well be like part of why he is the way he is. Like why his dad decided to do that, I have no idea, but here we are. Anyway, I hope he can kind of find some peace, some inner peace, and some satisfaction with where he is, and let that affect his play. I think it's got to. Otherwise, he'll be he'll always be the what if that we never see. And I think he's got a lot of time to figure it out.
Yeah, I want to hear Ben on a long form podcast. So join in on the B-ball break. Join in on the B-ball breakdown podcast, or you can come on Combos Court, man. So you can talk for about an hour. Just give us your perspective, Ben.
For sure.
Want to hear it.
There's one more super chat. Where did it go though? Oh, I want to put them up. Where did it go? Come on. I see it here, but I don't see it. Anyway, it's Starscream. Maybe I'll put up one of his questions because he was just thanking us, and thank you so much for being part of the conversation. But I don't see the super chat part of it. But he's thanking us, so thank you. But I did see one of your things. Let's put this one up here. What does he say? It's funny that you mentioned choke artists, since Harden is one of the biggest playoff chokers in history. The question is, who were the choke artists we were talking about?
I don't remember.
That was from a couple minutes ago. Maybe we're talking about Ben Simmons. But either way,
okay. I mean, maybe you mentioned that layup that I think it's talked about way too much, but you mentioned it.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, well, Starscream, thank you so much for your super chat. I wish I could put it up here, but it's not showing up in the darn. I see it on the YouTube side, but not on the in this chat side. So anyway, Let's talk a little bit about this reminds me a little bit about the whole Izzo thing. I don't want to. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. We have people who want to come on the show. Let's get T-Dog on here. Are you there, T-Dog 23?
Hey, B-ball breakdown. What's going on, man?
How am I supposed to say your name?
T to God, 23.
T to God.
There
T
you
to
go.
God.
T to
Forgive
God.
me. See, this is all part of the learning experience. So, what's up, man? How's it going?
Pretty good, man. A big fan of the show, man. I've been watching you for years. My favorite player is LeBron. So he's been in the finals for the last 8+ years, 8 straight finals. So you've covered a lot of the finals.
You know what's funny about that is it's almost like we're in like a support group and you have to say your name and then say who your favorite player is. Like, I'm Coach Nick. My favorite player is LeBron. Hi, Coach Nick. Anyway, so go ahead. Yeah, what do you want to talk about?
Yeah, so do you think LeBron's lost 6 finals? And I think looking at the game, so I'm a big basketball fan, and I think do you feel like if he would change his game and adjust and become more of a post player, that would have changed some of the outcomes of his NBA Finals appearances? Like, if you look at 2015, how he dominated, and I think he had his most points, rebounds, assists. I think he led both teams in points, rebounds, and assists. Why do you think he changed his style after that 2015 performance when Kevin Love and Kyrie came back? And even up to this point, he still plays around the perimeter. But when he didn't have any help, he dominated in the post. Do you think if he would have posted up, you think some of those outcomes would have been different? Let's say like the KD Warriors or other finals?
We had all those clips of him like posting up in the high post or even the low post, stagnant offense, nobody moving. There was a whole wall behind him of Warriors defenders. So I didn't even like that so much. I felt I think that the adjustment he could make is to let the offense work for him more. Like be more of a screener, be more of a guy coming off of handoffs. You know what I mean? And moving into the catches. That is what would make it better. And by the way, post up all 10 times a game. Absolutely. The idea that the Warriors went to on Saturday night. I did the breakdown on Sunday. It was a great game. Warriors go to Otto Porter at the 5, and Poole, Curry, Clay, and somebody small. Who anyway, the fourth guy was
Gary Payton the second?
No, it wasn't Gary Payton the second. It was Poole.
Kuminga?
No, it was all shooters.
Otto Porter.
Poole, Porter, Clay, Steph, and the other starter. Anyway, point being was I love that lineup for the Warriors because God shooting all over the place. But I would say you're going to try that against the Lakers when you have AD and LeBron, and guess what? They did not take advantage of it. AD tried to go in the post a couple times. Ball got knocked away. LeBron never got in there. He never got near the post on those moments. So that is a problem. I agree. LeBron is not my favorite player, but I respect the hell out of him. He's number 1A.
Yeah.
But there's no question that there are ways that he could play that would make them better, which is amazing to say because he is so great. And it's head scratching.
Yeah, and it's very head scratching. Like when I see him go against certain teams, especially in the finals, especially the Warriors, he could screen more, he could cut more, be off the ball more because the attention is going to focus on him, and they know what he's going to do: drive and kick. So that's predictable. I think he can utilize himself in the offense, like you were saying, a lot better to translate to wins. And I think he's a great player. He can get 30 anyway.
Yeah, but and when he does what he does, it's like you'll get more frustration because the refs maybe not give him the call that he wants. And then he's not finishing as well as he used to at the rim. And he's still good, but he misses shots at the rim now that you're like, 5 years ago that just would have been a dunk. It would
And it's like, why do you think he hasn't? As great as they say, oh, his IQ is so great and all this stuff, but is it really that great if he's not taking advantage of these smaller lineups that teams are throwing at him, and he still wants to just play on the perimeter, especially at his advanced age too?
Yeah, you're right. It's so hard to be dunking on LeBron of all people because he's LeBron, but these are all valid points.
I think if he goes to the post really often, it'll be taxing, and I think he's kind of taking a load management approach. Because even when I'm tired and I'm playing and I have a high load on offense, I'm shooting long jumpers. I'm not trying to go down in the post. I mean, that might just take away the rest of the game from me in terms of where my cardio is at.
Great point.
And do you guys think it was a good move to get rid of Rajon Rondo? Because I think he was was the main part they won the 2020 championship, pushing the pace when LeBron wanted to bring it up. Rondo would push the pace and get an easy score in the finals.
I guess they felt Russ was going to be that guy to push the pace, and I guess that's why LeBron wanted him in there. But
they got rid of Rondo last year, right? No,
Did they have?
they brought him
No.
back this year, right? And then they traded him. Was that
Yep.
what happened?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and Rondo shot well from three, and he was diming people up. I mean, listen, the whole thing that happened after the Lakers won, and the way they didn't keep that together, that they had solved the equation, is very, very strange. But you know, it also is related to LeBron, right?
Right.
Like, you know, they've been dropping these little stories about how it's LeBron and AD are the ones who brought Russ to LA. They had the
Right.
Buddy Hield deal done.
Right.
And you can't tell LeBron no. And that's that.
Right.
These are the perils of having a player who, you know, probably deserves, you know, a lot of control over a franchise. But this guy, LeBron, I mean, like Steph Curry is probably a better example, right? Steph
Right.
Curry is a superstar who doesn't low maintenance. He doesn't control things. And, you know, I think that it's a different experience to be his teammate than it is LeBron's teammate. That's all I can say, right?
Yeah, right. And I think the main part of LeBron, just watching him, I think it's just an ego thing. He wants to be the reason why his team wins and doesn't want to be that screener, doesn't want to be that. He comes across to me like a selfless player, but then at times it just looks like he wants to be the one to dictate everything, and everything has to dictate through him. And he thinks he can manage everything, but it hasn't resulted to wins. I think as great as he is, he's, to me, I think the greatest player of all time. But, you know, I think he could have definitely won some of those finals that he lost by just playing differently.
Yeah, for sure. All good points, you know. And listen, it's nice to be able to talk about LeBron, and we can point things out in a very, you know, a mature manner without having to, you know, go crazy. And hopefully people recognize that. But you know, I know when I've done videos and I've pointed things out that, you know, like you just pointed out, you know, the mob comes and pitchforks.
Did you get a call from Clutch?
Yeah, I'm waiting for that. You know, I might have them blocked or something. I don't know, but but I in fact, I even did that. I brought a couple people on who were so mad at me in the comments of a video from a couple of years ago. I brought them on the show. I'm like, you know, let it out. This is a safe space, and that was good.
Right.
So we're all moving somewhere. But
you can't have a nuanced opinion of LeBron, because both sides will come after you. You know, the LeBron haters will come after you, and the other side will come after you as well.
Right.
Yeah, I used to be like that, where I would like LeBron can't do any wrong, but ever since 2017, when he passed that shot to Kyle Korver, he had a mismatch on Draymond Green. He could have drove it, drew a foul. Remember that Game 3 play? Game 3? And he drives, they're up 2.
Yeah.
And he passed to Korver. Korver missed the shot. KD come down, changed the whole momentum, pulls up in LeBron's face for the 3. And that changes the whole series, where he could have drew the foul, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like,
it's so tough. As a coach,
I'm like, okay.
As a coach, I'm like, you know, that's the right play, and you know, he's done that. You know, and it came up on Saturday when he had to make free throws to tie the game at the buzzer. Or he's almost never been in that situation. He's probably done that 2 or 3 times his whole career. Where you know, and in both the regular season and the playoffs, I think it's only been like 2 or 3 where he's had to shoot free throws like that. And he choked him again. Like it's interesting, you know. It's splitting hairs. It's not necessarily fair to him. And for me though, like, you know, right at some point you're like, yes, you need to take that shot, and he did. He has a little bit, and he's heard that criticism. But he, you know, he's always been that guy, right? He's like, he's open. By the way, Michael Jordan did that. Remember, he passed. We wouldn't have Steve Kerr coaching the Warriors if Michael Jordan hadn't passed it to him in the finals. And so, you know, it sometimes it works, and other times it doesn't. I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, T. God. I appreciate it, man. Come on anytime.
Oh yeah, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me, man.
All right. Take care. All right. Let's bring on. We got Jason who wants to come on here. Oh wait. Come back, Jason. That jumped on me before I could do it. Jason, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Nick, can you hear me?
I hear you great.
So I'm a big fan. Been watching you since like 2012-ish. I actually now watch you more than I actually watch the NBA. I'm a Magic fan, so like not a lot of reason.
I cover the Magic actually for a podcast network. Yeah, that's great.
Wow, I apologize. I better get to the Magic. I want to do. I'm gonna do a video on Wagner.
I've been at you on Twitter a few times.
Yeah. Oh, right. Okay, that's you on Twitter yelling at me.
Probably.
Yeah, I got to do one on him. I'm gonna do one on the rookies, and he'll be in that one for sure.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. I mean, yeah. So yeah, but what do you want to talk about? Magic, or what do you want?
So I reckon Simmons.
Okay.
I think actually Simmons not playing for the Boomers at the Olympics was like probably the biggest mistake he's made over this little arc. Because I think he goes to the Olympics, he gets a lot of love from the Boomers. He gets really good coaching that builds stuff around what his skills are. And I mean, you look at like those Olympic teams, they're used to like, we get like whoever we get and we just build around what we get. Whereas, I don't know, the NBA teams, it's all ISO ball and we play this way and that is it. Yeah.
By the way, if Simmons plays for the Boomers, they win the Olympics, right?
I don't know about win, but yeah, maybe like they get a lot closer.
I mean, they beat the Americans twice. How many times they beat them in the qualifying?
Twice in the preseason, but that was early and like Team USA.
I mean,
I guess
probably defense was their biggest weakness, right?
Yeah.
So anyhow, but yeah, I hear you. That made him more isolated, right? Like I think that's part of the point is like, he was just sort of not around the camaraderie of team and maybe winning a silver or whatever would have also, changed the narrative for him as well. You're right. It's a really good point.
Particularly, you look at that Boomers team and like how everyone around like Patty Mills, Joe Ingles, like all those guys, like so much love in that team.
Absolutely. Just to be those guys are, they're the best teammates of all. Like Patty Mills and Ingles and who else on that team? All those guys. In fact, I thought that Lansdale would be doing better this year.
Well, yeah, he's surprising because he was carving up in the NBL for a while, and then, but what's his name? The Thunder kid.
Giddy.
Yeah, Giddy. He's been showing the goods.
Yeah, he was really good last night against the Knicks.
Yeah. Well, I was mentioning this before. Do you play basketball, or are you part of any kind of did you play?
I don't anymore. I'm a bit old, but I used to coach and referee and everything.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. I'm worried about what's going on down under, because the way they're teaching shooting with a lot of these guys coming out of Australia, and the specific thing I feel like I noticed is that they're being taught not to dip the ball on the catch. And I kind of feel like it's a problem that's, there's enough people now who are getting over here from Australia that don't shoot well. And I'm worried. Is that a thing that's been going on? Like when you're around the, general coaching and teaching, the younger guys how to shoot?
Yeah. So my understanding, a lot of the stuff from Basketball Australia, like coaching and stuff like that, it's real old school, which like particularly around shooting, it's that real, like you must have 10 toes to the basket.
Oh no.
They were big on, what is it? Triple threat, stuff like that.
Really?
There's also other ways where they're really innovative, like
because Josh Giddey has so much creativity to his game, so you wouldn't think so.
Yeah, like I remember dribble drive was like an offense that we were installing in like our state tournaments, and this was like 5-10 years ago, which was when it was sort of first evolving. And then other things like the NBL, if you've ever watched it, really, really good fundamental like team basketball league. I think if I was to like pick any league in the world to get kids to watch, like this is how you should play basketball, that would be one of the top leagues, just to see how structures work and things like that.
Yeah. Well, for all the good that yields, the shooting stuff, I got to get down there or something and help and do some clinics. Tell some people about the turn, tell them about the dip, attacking on the catch, all that stuff, because I just worry. I feel like, like Ingles is a great example. Ingles clearly, to me, is a guy who was forced 10 toes to the rim, and that's why his shot is so ugly, is because he couldn't get his elbow underneath the ball by being square to the basket, and then, and he wouldn't move his feet because they wouldn't let him, so he had to, whatever he does with that shot is crazy. The fact that he gets it to go in is even crazier to me. But anyhow, yeah. So that's fascinating. And a great point about Simmons. It's all the different versions of the Matrix that could have happened that would have been a totally different outcome here. Are fascinating to go through.
The other thing I wanted to ask you, Nick, on and sort of looking at the NBL and then looking at the NBA. Why in the NBA do they run such rubbish, stagnant offenses? Like every team just insists on running these really like just awful offenses that like focused around ISO ball, super dependent on stars, and like
it's funny because I don't feel that way. I some teams do, other teams don't. Like you do see like the Suns and the Warriors play beautiful basketball, right? Like tons of movement all the time. Memphis, yeah, and then I
they're
think
the exception, not the
I
rule.
mean, it could be it could be more like and not to say it's half and half because people all run pistol action, so you get some version of like a handoff into a ball screen or whatever. But I think part of it could very well be like, okay, we have this guy and he's our best player, he should shoot the most shots. Well, how do we make sure that happens? Well, we do an ISO play for him,
like
right?
the Celtics have been for a while,
and it's frustrating. Now it's probably the AAU thing that bleeds into that they've been playing that way, and then you want to try and recreate that success. But you're right. Like we talked about LeBron earlier. If LeBron lets the offense work for him better, he gets easier shots. But like they don't. It's weird. They don't want to do that. And
imagine Brooklyn or LA running like good offense, like the Warriors or those other teams, like or like in the Olympics, like Luka's team, like they ran some good stuff. Members of the class.
Australia ran the best stuff, by the way. I mean, I had to I was watching. I sent the message to the coach because I'm like, this is amazing what you guys are doing. All the old school Princeton stuff, but it was great. By the way, let's throw this out here because we're talking about Australia. We're talking about Giddy for a second. The Age of Brevity. Thank you so much for the super chat. And his question is: if the 21 draft was held right now, is Giddy number one? That's fascinating to me. Jason, what do you think?
I think he's got some fundamental flaws. I don't think he's. I mean, the other thing, the NBA, everyone's so focused on the American prospects and everything. Like, I don't think you can have an Aussie. Like Bogut was a bit of an anomaly. Where did he go? Second?
One.
Did he go first? He went one.
I think he went one.
Yeah. But like, I don't think you can have someone like Giddy go first. I just don't think it happens. Yeah.
Right. No, but do you think he should go first? Like, do you think in a redraft you would take
like based on how he's playing now? Is he playing the best of any rookie right now?
Out of the short sample size we have,
I think. I mean, maybe a little bit biased, but I think Wagner's probably showing a more complete, mature game. And
Cade's a better shooter.
But Giddy has really come on. At the beginning of the year, he really had holes, and the more I'm watching, the less I see of that. So maybe by the end of the year, we'll have to have a discussion and figure that out. But right now, not number one. I'd still probably put Cade up there and
Scotty Barnes, Evan Mobley.
Yeah, and Barnes, and then Wagner has to be somewhere up in there too. But he's moving. There's no question he's higher than he would have been to start the year. So thank you, Age of Brevity, for that. And Jason, we got someone else who wants to come on the show, but thank you so much for being part of the conversation for so darn long. It's amazing.
I mean,
what's that? You're in? All right, he's in. All right, Big Dog. Sorry, let's get him on here. Sorry for the wait, but what's happening?
Yeah, is my mic working properly?
Yeah, it's working properly.
Yeah, it might be a little bad, but yeah, I don't have like a specific topic to the current NBA as a player, but is there any like qualifications that makes a person a superstar, like elite scoring or elite playmaking, elite defense? Because I've been having debates about it, with my friends and stuff. I'm trying to figure out what defines a person as a superstar. Is it elite scoring plus elite playmaking and defense, or is there like
here's what I think. I think one piece that needs to be included is marketability. So that's why, like Kawhi, I always balk about like whether I want to consider him like a superstar because he doesn't, and by the way, he's done a couple of commercials and they've actually been pretty funny. He's been good, like playing off of the fact that he's kind of awkward on the camera. But to me, that's why you can put Russ as a superstar because like, I got to tell you, like those Mountain Dew commercials were hilarious and he had magnetism and, all those things that I think I truly believe that needs to be part of it when you're talking about superstar, not just all-star and all NBA or whatever. And that's why, that's what separates those guys. And I think Michael Jordan laid that blueprint out. He was so good at that part as well. Had such a great smile and was, so magnetic. So that I think that's a big part of it. Does that disqualify anybody that we would consider a superstar right now? Besides Kawhi, who are we talking about?
I was referring in more of a like team success way. So I was kind of equating superstar as to like first option on the championship team / contender rather than
that has to be
you
that
know
too.
what I mean? Yeah.
I think defense is also less important, don't you?
Yeah. Obviously, at the beginning, at the end of the day, offense, is more important than defense. Offense wins games, defense wins championships. But you have to win games to get to the championship. Is basically what I go by. But and then I guess my second question would be: do you believe anybody other than Stephen Curry, small guards? I don't believe small guards in the NBA can be your first option for you to win a championship. Obviously, Stephen Curry is 6'3" and the greatest shooter ever, and an extreme outlier. Then you have Isaiah Thomas, but
Hawks fans aren't going to be happy about that, big dog.
Yeah, I just don't believe in Trae Young. He's the worst defender in the NBA, and it's just I see at some point if teams have 3 good ball handlers, there's nothing that stops them from just attacking Trae Young on switches and then the pick and roll all game. It just has it. You know what I mean?
Big dog. How about Ja Morant though? I think he could lead his team.
I mean, he's really turned it on this year. And honestly, I'm a Hornets fan myself. I watched the game last night, or it was 2 nights ago. He was kind of cruising through, but I'm not sure myself if Ja Morant could lead a team. I still have questions about his, streaky shooting and, his ability to play off the ball. He stands around whenever he doesn't have the ball, even though obviously the team is, built around him and he's the main one distributing. But there was a time, I think, the first year in the league, I was telling everyone that Jaren Jackson Jr. was, more important to the team than he was. It was true at the time, but, his defense and rim protection, his versatility and switchability just, made him a better player to me than him. But, obviously it's not the, it may not be the truth now, but, there is some evidence in the, when he was out for 12 games and they won 11 of them, Well,
I appreciate your interesting take because I haven't heard that take before.
Yeah, that's just the way that I think about it. So
yeah,
what do you guys think about
Ja's not quite there yet, but I could easily see him, in a year or two with that team maturing, leading his team to an NBA title without question. But they're it's hard. Trae, by the way, I would say, he's got to shoot better. He's got to get over 40% from 3 on that high volume. He's actually at 37.5% right now.
You know why I like Ja so much more than Trae? Because I feel like Trae just usually makes, and he's phenomenal. To be at his size and get the stats that he gets and be as box office as he is, and what he did to the Knicks is just amazing. But Ja Morant makes the little plays, maybe the hockey assist, maybe putting people in the right place more than Trae. I feel like Trae always needs to make the pass that leads to the assist and not everything in between, not be that connecting piece as much as Ja can.
Yeah, maybe
floor general, not as much of a floor general, I think.
Yeah. Now that said, the Hawks made that run, and I thought they were going to build on that, and they really kind of have struggled to kind of continue there. But they have some pieces that are they're kind of load managing right now. Guys like Gallinari who could really help them. And so when the playoffs start, you have to keep your eye on that. That might end up being a team that could kind of maybe recreate what they did. This is great. This is the best part about the NBA I think we've had in a long time is there's so many teams, there's so much parity in the league, and it's really hard to figure out who's where and what. You know what I mean?
I feel like the bottom half of the league is just so much better than it used to be in terms of talent.
The bottom half of the league, that's probably true as well. And I think maybe coaching has also risen up, so the worst coaches in the NBA now are much better than the worst coaches that were 10 years ago. I kind of feel that that's sort of the case, even though we're still seeing some weird mistakes by some coaches who are good. But everyone's always learning and studying the numbers. But I don't know. I think listen, Big Dog. Anything real quick you want to talk about?
Yeah, I guess I'll comment upon the coaching things. Yeah, and it was the last guy asked it, he was like, "Why is coaching so weird in the NBA?" He could do the stats. I was like, well, I think it's just I'm not sure what it is, but it's in the system the NBA runs aside from, teams like the Warriors and maybe the Suns. You can just everyone's one of the 3 things. They're either a rim protecting big, a 3-and-D player, or they're a star. And all the systems you can just easily place in these players and then just let them go play. And that's why I think the NBA is so pick and roll and maybe dribble handoffs at the top based around. You know what I mean? Because
you forgot about one thing, the 6th man, which is kind of he's kind of like the star archetype, but to a way lesser degree.
Yeah.
But I think that's another prototype. But you're right. It is interesting how you have to fit into one of those spots. And if you're like an isocentric go-to player, it's hard to be in the NBA if you're not a star, you know? You'll probably end up overseas if you're that type of player and not star level.
Yeah, because if you can't play if you're not, a wing player that can play defense, a rim protector, or you're just not getting buckets, you can't, or maybe a 6-man, but you're a 6-man because you can't play defense, or you can't shoot, or there's something that holds you back for a reason. I forget what what the things are, but yeah, it's either you can't play defense like Montrezl Harrell, Lou Williams.
Yeah, you're right. Those are the archetypes, though, the ones that you mentioned, which is
right. Yeah, I mean, but I'll throw it out there. It's the end of the show. We're getting bleary-eyed here, but like Russell Westbrook, he's in danger of being out of the league in like a year and a half. I truly think he is.
Think so?
He's been on 5 teams in 5 years, and anybody less than his numbers would not be in the league by this point. And if it happens again, listen, there's a reason why he didn't play the other night right before the trade deadline, and it wasn't because he had back spasms, like they said. It was because they were probably desperately trying to trade him. They trade him again, or he goes on another team, and this happens. I don't know, man. I don't know how well this works, and I don't think anyone's going to want to sign him to a long-term contract at the very least. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
I think he'll stay around just due to his star power and his, I guess,
put people in the
pristine, just his legacy, I guess, because there's going to be some bottom teams in the NBA. I don't know if the Pistons would want to deal with him and hampering Cade, or maybe the Knicks are just back in the dirt again and they just want somebody to just save.
The Knicks would do that. Yeah, that's a good point, but we'll see. You never know. Sometimes they get smart too. And I just worry about that. I can kind of see that possibly be happening, but we'll see. But either way, Big Dog, thanks so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it. Anytime. You're welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me on here, guys.
All right, you got it.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, what do you say? Let's wrap this up. It's an hour into the show. I'm starving, man. I got to eat something. What about you?
Yeah, me too. I think I had dinner already, but I might have another one after this.
All right. Yeah, God, to be burning what you probably burn 5,000 calories a day.
I do a lot of exercise, Coach Nick. A lot of exercise.
I love it. I love it. I used to do that, and I could eat anything, and just be careful. It turns into me one day. So, keep it up. But either way, thank you, Combo, for being here. Thank you, everybody out there, for the super chats and for coming on the show. A really great show today. Wouldn't you say?
Yes. I think it's one of all our shows are great, but I think this is one of the best we've had.
Yeah, it had good rhythm. So anyway, well, thanks so much for everybody being here, and we'll be back again next Tuesday, same time, same channel. And don't forget, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in? Are you in, Combo?
I'm in.
Oh, did you drop the gun again?
I have no patience. Yes, I'm in, and I'm in the house, like we said in the beginning of the show, to bring it full circle.
All right.